faces we hide. Some cases stay with you. They're not just a job, they get under your skin, leaving more questions than answers. Sometimes, nightmares don't stay in your dreams. They creep into your reality. It was October 29th, and the sun was sinking fast when I took what would be my final call of the day. The voice on the other end was sharp, tense, and clearly out of ideas. A man named Tom. He explained, through long, frustrated sighs, that a friend had mentioned our services. Now, after exhausting every other option, he was desperate. His brother Justin was missing. "He just never turned up for work," Tom said, his frustration clear. "I've been doing this job longer than I care to admit, and missing persons cases are usually a serious concern for the family. But most of the time, they aren't as complicated as they first appear. People leave more clues behind than they realize. This case, though, would not be one of those." Tom explained that he had already contacted the police. They'd done what they could until they spoke to Justin's wife, Sharon. According to Tom, Sharon insisted there was no need for a search. She wasn't worried. She told the police Justin had a habit of going off on his own, that this wasn't unusual. "I'm close to my brother," his voice cracking. "I'm not buying it. Justin wouldn't just vanish for weeks without telling me. He's never done that. Something's wrong. I can feel it. And after many years in this line of work, I've learned to trust that gut instinct. Sometimes it can literally save your life. But that's another story for a different day." After talking it through with Tom, I decided to start with Sharon. The next day, I visited Sharon's house. It was a quiet neighborhood. Halloween decorations lined the street. But Sharon's house, different. No decorations, no lights, no life. When she answered the door, she looked composed, but tired, her eyes distant. I started to introduce myself, but she cut me off. "Tom sent you, didn't he?" Her voice sharp, almost irritated. She let us inside, though everything about her screamed reluctance. The house was immaculate, too perfect, almost staged. Everything gleamed. Even the cat looked like it had just taken a long, luxurious bath. Teat was beautiful, all white and fluffy, though its meow grated on me, echoing in the silence, bouncing off the walls. She sat us down, her voice calm, detached. "Justin's gone. I don't know where he is, but he's gone." No emotion, no urgency. "Have you called the police?" I asked. She shrugged. "He'll be back." But something wasn't right. Her body language, her tone. It was all wrong. She was hiding something. I asked if we could take a look around. She hesitated, then signaled her approval. As we walked through Justin's office, I could feel eyes watching us from every shadow. Sharon followed closely, her presence heavy, looming behind us. Though we found nothing of any significance, we left shortly after, but I couldn't shake that feeling. The strange behavior, Sharon's cold detachment, the cat's meow still echoing in my ears. Something wasn't right here. She didn't look like a worried wife. She looked like a woman relieved, as though a weight had been lifted. We started digging into Justin's life. His phone records, social media, phone location data, and bank accounts all seemed normal. He had left for work and then simply vanished. No suspicious transactions, no signs of an escape. Then we spoke to one of Justin's friends. He mentioned a night, a few weeks before Justin disappeared. Justin had had a little too much to drink and confided in him that he was planning to leave Sharon. He was ready to start fresh, away from her. Suddenly, everything clicked. If Sharon knew, she had no reason to be worried. In fact, she probably expected it. That night, the phone call started. Tom was the first to mention it, a late-night call that came out of nowhere. It was just past midnight when his phone rang. He picked up, silence, then he was met with breathing, slow, deliberate, unnerving. "They didn't say anything," Tom explained, his voice low, tension rising. "Just breathing, like they were waiting for me to speak. It was so quiet, I could hear every breath. And then, nothing. They hung up. I took note, slightly unsettled, but tried to brush it off as a strange prank. That was until I got a call too. It was 2 a.m. when my phone rang again, cutting through the silence of the night. I fumbled for the phone, groggy and half awake, fully expecting the same thing I'd heard earlier, the dead air. I'd already received a few calls that evening, all the same. Silent. Nothing but an empty line on the other end. But the last call I received was different. As soon as I answered, I could sense it. This wasn't like the others. There was no silence this time. Instead, I heard breathing. Slow. Deliberate. Each breath dragged out as though whoever was on the other end wanted me to feel it. To hear every inhale, every exhale. I stayed silent, gripping the phone tighter, listening, my pulse quickening. The breathing continued, unnervingly calm, as if they were waiting for me to speak. I didn't. I just listened, heart pounding. Then, the breathing stopped. For a moment, the line was dead again, and I thought it was over. But then, through the crackling static, I heard it. A meow. A quiet, skin-scratching meow. It was faint, but unmistakable. The phone call ended abruptly, but it was enough. I knew that sound. I had heard it before. We returned to Sharon's house the next day. Halloween. The streets were buzzing with kids trick-or-treating, their laughter carrying through the air. Ghosts swayed from the trees, and jack-o'-lanterns glowed on every doorstep. But Sharon's house? Dark. Lifeless. As she opened the door, I immediately noticed how much worse she looked. Her eyes were hollow, her skin pale, almost grey. The air in the hallway was heavy, suffocating. Even the cat was gone. "Have you heard anything?" I asked, my eyes fixed on her, watching every twitch, every hesitation. "No." Her voice was so quiet, I could barely hear it. Her shoulders hunched slightly, her gaze flickering around the room, avoiding mine. Something was wrong, more than before. "Sharon, we know something's not right. Tom is frantic. He's worried sick about Justin. And your cat, where is it?" I pushed harder, my tone firm, no longer gentle. She didn't respond. Her eyes, wide, as they darted nervously toward the coffee table, as if by instinct. My stomach tightened as I noticed what she was looking at. On the table were scattered photographs. My stomach tightened as I stepped closer. They were pictures of Justin's car parked in random places. But then, the next set of photos made my blood run cold. They were of Justin, asleep. Or was he asleep? What are those?" I demanded, my voice steady but hard. I pointed at the photos. My heartbeat quickened, and I could feel the tension thickening in the room. Her breath hitched. She was trembling now, her face losing all colour. Her lip quivering, she looked like she was about to break, her entire body on the verge of collapse. "He was going to leave me," she suddenly screamed, her voice echoing through the empty house. "He was going to leave me. Did you know that?" She was practically shaking with anger, her eyes wild, red, tears brimming but refusing to fall. Her words came out in a sharp, her entire body trembling with barely contained fury. I took a deep breath, my voice low, but firm. "We can help you, Sharon, but you need to tell us what's going on. Right now." Her eyes darted around the room again, panic seeping in. Her hands shook as she wiped at her face. "You don't understand. You wouldn't understand," she muttered, her voice breaking as she looked away. I stepped closer, lowering my voice but keeping it steady. "Sharon, what have you done?" Paul glanced at the photos, then at me. "I recognize this place," he said, pointing to one of the images of Justin's car. "That lake, I've been there before." We headed there, the tension thickening with every mile. Paul gripped the wheel tightly, his knuckles white, his eyes locked on the road ahead. Behind us, Sharon's car followed closely, its headlights glaring in the rearview mirror like two unblinking eyes. I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down. The trees loomed over us, casting long shadows as the road twisted and turned. It felt like the drive would never end. My phone buzzed, jolting me from the heavy silence inside the car. I glanced down and felt my stomach twist. I had almost forgotten in the chaos. Justin's phone. It had last pinged at the lake, the same lake we were heading toward. Suddenly, everything felt different. The air seemed colder, heavier. The sense of impending dread gnawed at me, the pieces starting to click into place in a way I wasn't prepared for. Paul said nothing, but I saw him glance over, his jaw clenched. He knew it too. Whatever we were driving toward, it wasn't going to be good. Finally, we arrived. The lake stretched out before us, dark, still, eerily calm. The authorities were already there. Flashing lights reflected off the water. A truck was pulling something from its depths. A car. Justin's car. I held my breath as the car emerged, water pouring off its sides, windows cracked. The calmness of the lake shattered. The water churned violently as if it was hiding something darker beneath. We stood frozen, hearts pounding in our chests, watching in eerie silence as the car was dragged onto the embankment. Water gushed from the doors, pooling beneath the vehicle, soaking into the earth. The weight of what was about to be revealed hung heavy in the air, thick, suffocating, unbearable. The officers stepped forward, prying open the door. The sound of groaning metal filled the air. I held my breath, expecting the worst. But Justin wasn't there. The car was empty. I exhaled, relief and confusion washing over me in equal measure. Where was he? How could the car be here, submerged, without any sign of him? My mind raced, grasping for answers, but none came. The mystery only deepened. "Where is he?" Paul asked, his voice quiet. I shook my head, unable to answer. The once still lake had given up one secret, but did it have another buried even deeper? We watched as Sharon got into the police car and drove away with them, her face completely blank, as though the gravity of everything that had just unfolded meant nothing to her. No remorse, no fear. She had an eerie calmness that sent a chill down my spine. She didn't look back, not once, as if she had already left everything behind. It was unsettling, seeing her so detached, like she knew this moment would come all along. The police took over from there, and while they would follow up leads, deep down, I knew we'd likely never get the closure we were hoping for. All that was left now were the haunting gaps in the story, the what-ifs that would never be answered. Some cases don't have clear endings. This one still haunts me. Sharon wasn't the woman she appeared to be. And Justin, well, he was just one of many victims. The truth is, people wear masks. They hide their true selves from the world. Sometimes monsters don't hide under your bed. They lie right next to you. Thank you for listening to today's episode. We hope you found the story engaging. As always, names and locations have been changed to protect the identities of those involved. If you or someone you know are in need of professional investigative services, please don't hesitate to visit southwalesprivateinvestigations.co.uk. We're here to help when you need us the most. And once again, thank you for your support. We truly appreciate it.